A fifth scale, 8S powered 4x4 brushless monster truck. This RC drivers is the new Redcat Vigilante. This truck is a giant. You know, Redcat Racing actually isn't new to the world of large-scale RCs, but I think this one's really gonna put them on the map because it fits right into the popular 1/5 scale off-road basher category. So coming up in today's video, I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about this truck, from what comes inside the box to its important features, its power system, and then we're gonna take it out speed testing and bashing in the dirt. It's gonna be so much fun. Let's get into it. Check out the body. It's a Redcat body. Redcat isn't known for their wild and crazy bodies, just kind of simple stuff. And this one kind of reminds me of a Chevy pickup, basically. It's got a cool cowl hood to it. This is what really reminds me of the Chevy part, the grille. It's got the split in the center where the Chevy logo would be. It's got a simple white stripe down the side. We got some Redcat logos, and you know, the headlights and taillights are decals. But the important stuff here is the body protection. Look at this up top. They're rocking body clips on this, which is okay. I'll tell you why in a little bit. But you know, they have these protection plates so the body clips don't rip through the Lexan, and the body is actually pretty thick. And then in the back they have body clips as well. I just removed them because it's going to be easier for me to get off in a minute. But back to the protection, they've got a roof skid on here, and then they've got the roll bar that goes down to the plates to support the rear body clips, and then this bed rail that helps add protection, just kind of ties everything in together. And there's actually some additional Lexan pieces taped under there so these shock towers don't punch through the body. But what I really like is they have a body support in the center. It's kind of like a Y support, and it goes down to the center of the chassis. It keys in up top and makes it just really solid. Now, the reason why I like the body clips on here is just in case you do want to go and switch out the body. I actually pulled out a Proline Gladiator body for an X-Max, and it looks like it lines up pretty well on this truck. So if you're looking for an option, that might be something. And while I was at it, I was kind of throwing some tires up on here as well because, you know, people like options. But they've got an all-terrain tire on here. It looks very Badlands-like, just the style of the pattern, but it's a very squared up tire. It does have a nice firm insert on the inside. And then you got these satin chrome spoke wheels, and they're pretty decent. But what I like about them is they do have a cast metal insert on the backside, so your wheel hex isn't going to tear through it under power. That happens sometimes with high-powered trucks, especially 8S trucks. It's got 24mm hex on it, so if you're looking for wheel options, that's the size hex you need to look for. Up front, we've got a very large front bumper with light pods that you could add LED lights to. It would have been nice if they came with it, but you can add it later on down the road. The supports look pretty beefy for the front bumper, and same with the rear bumper. It's just kind of a straight bar in the back, but check out that stance on that thing. That's pretty wild. All right, let's pop the body off. Again, I only threw one clip on here to make my life a little bit easier. Show you the inside of the body really quick. There's those pads so the shock towers don't pop through. That's where the post keys in, and there's the posts themselves. Check out this truck. The chassis is a high clearance setup, which is great for backyard bashing and going in construction lots, just wild terrain. You got that extra clearance just to go over whatever you want. And look at this, they really braced it up here. We've got 4 aluminum rods going from these front and rear braces to a center brace. So it's a really rigid structure. And it actually has to be. They need a lot of rigidity in this because it's a 2-piece chassis, which actually kind of concerns me a little bit. There's a split right down the center of the chassis here, and these side steps actually help brace these 2 pieces together, and same with the center arch brace, and then they've got a lower plate. And it just kind of concerns me that there's a split here, and I know how wild some guys go with their jumping, so that is my only concern with the chassis. But other than that, it looks like it's got a good nylon content to the composite because it's got this dull look to it. Now inside you can see there is some honeycomb bracing down the center. We've got the 2 battery trays. They secure the packs with Velcro straps, and there's 3 of them. There's that center body mount. The front and rear body mounts are actually adjustable, so again, if you do want to go and swap out the body, it looks like you're to have that option. And then check out the shock towers. That kind of integrates into the chassis a little bit. Might as well talk about that and then get into the suspension. The shock towers are composite. They've got this upper plate here that protects the shock. And check out the size of these shocks, 24 millimeter. It's got an aluminum body, which is threaded, so you could go and adjust the preload collars. The top cap is composite. They got a bleeder screw in there, so that's a pretty neat setup. Composite cartridge, and then massive shock shafts on that thing. Measured those up at about 6.5 millimeters. You can see they've got a rubber bump stop at the bottom. The lower shock perch is screwed in place. Very cool stuff. And then the lower ball stud is pretty heavy duty. That looks like it's got a lot of plastic around the ball stud itself. And those are metal, so that's really cool. And then right in front of it is a limiting strap. How often do you see a limiting strap come on a ready-to-run vehicle? Pretty cool. Since it's Velcro, it is adjustable, and it just ties into the shocks. Now we'll get into the other suspension components, and check out the size of these arms. These things are massive. They feel rock solid. Not a lot of flex on these on the bench, but when we're out driving, we'll have to see how much they flex there. But this is pretty much like a wide arm setup. I had my wide X-Max up next to it, and it's pretty much the same width, so it should handle really well. You got the upper adjustable tie rods on that. That's a pretty cool option. Nice caster blocks on this. They are composite. And then look on the outside. They've got aluminum steering knuckles with massive bearings set inside them, so it's got to support those axles really well. You got that durability of the aluminum steering knuckle. It's got a dual shear point for the steering links. Pretty much the same setup in the rear. You got the large bore aluminum shocks, the solid arms, adjustable rear turnbuckles, and then aluminum hubs on the outside, again with the massive bearings. So they gave you some basically upgrade parts in the kit. Now the oil in the shocks, it seems pretty stiff, so I'm excited to see how this thing handles. The steering, like many other trucks out there, is a dual crank setup. The one side is just a simple composite crank. The other side has an integrated servo saver in it, and it does have an aluminum tube for that servo saver, so that's built up. Composite drag link, just 1 point for mounting the steering links. So basic setup, but looks like it's going to work really well. Looks like there's plenty of steering angle on this. And just to quickly jump over to the steering servo, I'll tell you about the actual servo in a minute, but the servo horn coming off of it is supported by a ball bearing. Looks like a really thick servo horn, so that should hold up even though it's composite, and I like that it's supported. So I'm going to start up front and work my way back through the drivetrain. Up front here, we have a gear differential, oil-filled and all metal gears on the inside. I took it apart for you guys. Actually, I took the rear apart for you guys. Looked inside. There is oil inside. There is metal cross pins, the metal gears, and then they have metal block supports that go inside the composite diff cup, which is better than just a pin going in there because that will eventually walk its way through. But now that they have those blocks in there, that's not going to happen. Steel out drives on it, massive gears in there, all metal, of course, huge ball bearings. Looks like a nice large output bearing as well coming out of the backside of the gear case. I know that's really important to have. And they're easy access diffs. So that's something that I really liked. I actually found out the hard way. I took everything apart and then realized, hey, these are easy access diffs. You could just remove like the 5 screws on the front cover, 2 screws on the bottom, and that diff will pop right out. Now moving down to the drive shafts, CV drive shafts on every corner. Measured them up. They are about 5.5 millimeters and just looks pretty heavy duty down by the joint, which is the important part. It does have an extruded aluminum center shaft, spline style, so that's better than like a dog bone in this particular setup, a dog bone end in this particular setup. I like that the drive shaft is actually supported in the center by a ball bearing. And then in the rear section here, behind the motor, is where the center differential is, all metal gears in that as well. And then it's got a couple of transfer gears. Those are all metal, Mod 1. So that's a heavy duty tooth style that you want to see on a truck of this size. 18 tooth pinion gear. Might as well talk about the motor mount, which is really cool. I like this. An aluminum motor mount from the factory, like that it's got the 3 screws that allows it to slide side by side. And then moving back to the rear of the truck, gear differential, oil filled. It's even keyed. I wanted to mention that as well. The diff cup is keyed to the ring gear, so you know it's centered properly when you're clamping down on the 4 screws that hold it. Again, steel out drives, the metal CVs, and then massive bearings to support the stub shafts. Bet you guys have been eyeing the electronics as I go over the truck, and it's time to get into that stuff. So for the steering servo, it's got a 70 kg all-weather Metal Gear steering servo. Again, ball bearing supported in the front. On top of the servo is a simple receiver box, got a little clip to hold down the top. And actually, when I popped that open to check out the Redcat receiver, I noticed that it wasn't two-side taped down, and it was kind of just flopping around in there. And you know, chums could wreak havoc on electronics. I actually went and just threw a little piece of two-side tape under mine and stuck it down inside. Would have been nice if that was done at the factory. Now, over on the other side, let's swing this around. Guys, it's got hobby wing gear in here. It's their WP6BL168S speed controller. The size of this thing is huge. It's got a cooling fan on top. Look at those capacitors in the front. Heavy duty wire on it, XT connectors, and it does have some programmability to it. You could go through the manual that's included with the truck to go through the different functions of it, but this speed controller here will actually handle 3S up to 8S. And then the BEC in here is 6 volt or 7.4 volt. That's adjustable as well. And it's got the massive wires going back to the motor. And that is a 1250 kV, 4985 size. I think that's going to dish out some good power for this truck. As you can see, it's got a clip-on heatsink, which has a fan on top. So it's cooled. The ESC is cooled. I like that the electronics are cool. The only thing I was a little concerned about is this motor just hanging out here. I wish there was a little brace on the motor mount assembly since it is attached to a composite chassis. There is some covers over the gears in the back here, and I just wanted to mention that one of the screws actually goes into blind nuts down in the bottom of the chassis, and it was stripped from the factory. I was actually able to fix it. I just screwed it back in, and it's fine now, but just wanted to throw out the little things that I found on this truck as I was going over it, as I've done with so many other things here on the channel. Just want to make you guys aware of it. There's nothing else that I found, and I went over this truck with a fine-tooth comb to make sure it was built right, and everything I found and every concern I've pointed out. All right, finally, let's talk about what else comes in the kit. And this is it back here, guys. Not much else in the kit. You get the RRT X4C 2.4 gigahertz transmitter. This is coming in a number of their ready-to-runs. I like that it's got the digital trims and the foam steering wheel. Actually has a really comfortable grip as well. It does require 4 AA batteries. They also give you a wheel wrench. There's your speed control instruction manual. Your quick start guide, a full manual can be accessed through the QR code. And then they got some additional decals that you can put on the truck. And these antennas, because you got some little antennas showing on the box. I think I need to install these and head out for the drive. Here we go, guys. Top speed test. Good. I think we're gonna need a lot of runway here, but let's see what we got. Into the wind. We'll come back. Really windy day out. Not easy keeping that thing straight in the wind, but we'll get some sort of speed for you. Rip it back through here. It's got a good stance to it, right? Stop. Read 43. No pressure on me, guys. Redcat told me they only sent a few of these things out, so hopefully I get some really good action for you. I've been driving it, it's been a blast. Let's start jumping this thing. Yeah. I'm gonna start off easy with these doubles here. We'll get a little squirrely on that one. Now what I notice is it needs a little bit more steering. You definitely have to use the brake on this to get it turned. Load this thing nice and smooth. And hit this one. Yeah. I think it needs a few more teeth on the gear. Just help correct this a little bit better. One more off of this. Smooth and nail it. Nice. A little brake dive. This berm here, this is my favorite. I love this berm. Full throttle through there, all the dirt flying off. Come back through. Yeah. That just looks so awesome. Full throttle through that. One lift. One more time.
Go through the berm. I want to hit these doubles here. Nice. I think we're losing some battery. Float this one. Float this one. Really fun truck to drive. All right, this double is a bit bigger. Just worked my way into this. Nice smooth floating jump. Got to punch the throttle just to keep it level. But yeah, I could use a little bit more bottom end. Maybe I just got to tweak the speed controller. Not bad on the landing, just a little pop in the front. Here we go again. More speed. There we go. Some more air on a flat landing. You got a little pop at the end. To be expected. Again, these guys just set it up for general use. Nice. This off-camera jump here is really cool. Right into the berm. Wish I could see the backside of that jump, but I can't, so we'll whip it back around here. Take the short line. Man, that thing sails nice. You kind of just do this all day at this jump. Look at that. Yeah, notice that brake dive? If you let off, it drops a little bit. Oh. Of course, I gotta try the starting hill, so here we go. Got some air under it. Here we go again. We'll get some more throttle on this one. Awesome. Always fix your divots before you leave, guys. Battery's going soft, but we'll hit it one more time. Let's go. Nice. You guys can see the body fluttering, right? It's getting some air under that thing. One more big one. Okay guys, this is a really fun spot. Let's just do a quick check before I head home here. Look over the truck, see if I broke anything. Oh, I did break the front bumper right there. And I'll do another inspection at home. I just want to look over this thing really quick. Oh, look at that. Pins coming out back there. But that's about it. Chassis feels fine. Got a big old rock in here. Yeah, this thing looks good. Just a couple little things.
I think Redcat Racing's been making a lot of great moves on their new releases, and it has a lot of people talking about the brand. And I think they're gonna talk about it a bit more with this release. This truck was an absolute blast. I had so much fun with it at the BMX track. It just jumps really well if you're finessing it over the jumps. Landing on the downsides, the suspension soaks up those landings. The truck actually handles pretty well, even though there's actually positive camber on this thing out of the box. I wanted to run it straight out of the box for you guys, so I'm actually gonna go and just zero it out. But I think the truck could definitely use a bit more steering. I do want to go and swap out the servo in this with something that has a bit more torque. And once I get a bit more steering in it, just so I can turn within the lanes of the BMX truck nice and easy, I'm gonna have more fun with it. I used a lot of brake to just check this thing up and spin it around, which is fun in itself. The truck has some pretty good rip. I hit a top speed of 43 miles an hour. That was using some new Turnigy 6.0 battery packs. I'm not sure if those are released yet, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for that, but it's got some good power. The truck took a pretty big beating once I started sending it farther and farther and farther. I saw, you know, the front end start to bottom out and pop back up. So obviously, if you're going to send it, you're gonna have to go and change out the oils just like any other truck. There's a lot of power being sent to the front. The center diff could definitely use a stiffer oil, or maybe even using silicone earplugs. A lot of guys do that with the fifth scale stuff. So, you know, again, a little bit of tuning and this truck will be a lot more fun. It is certainly durable. I crashed it a bunch of times. The only thing I have to report, like I showed you guys before, is I broke the front bumper mount, and I think it actually broke because there's an air pocket. I pulled back the plastic and saw an air pocket back there. And then I went and ran this thing around in my backyard, like just full throttle. I actually put some max amps packs in it. They were 9,000 milliamps, so I had a lot of runtime, and I just did wheelies back and forth, just ripping on the throttle. The motor stayed fairly cool. I was able to hold my finger on it after running the 9,000 milliamp pack for a few seconds. The speed controller was totally fine, so the system can put up with the weight of this truck. I fixed the hinge pin issue I showed you before. All I did to fix it was I put a washer on the screw, tapped the pin back in. It's secure now, and none of the other pins have an issue. Then I think it needs a little speed controller tuning. You know, I mentioned that in the driving portion, it may need another tooth on the pinion gear and knock back down the brake a little bit in the tuning. I think it'll settle the truck right in. It looks like we're gonna be able to fit a larger motor in there. So if you wanna get some more power to launch this thing, I think you're gonna be able to do that. It'll just be nice if some of the aftermarket manufacturers jumped on this, because I think once people start overpowering it, some other things may pop up. I can't say for sure, but it always seems to happen. The chassis, I looked at that and it looks fine. It doesn't look like there's any issue with that split. But again, with more power, who knows? Hopefully like M2C Racing would come out with something if people want to start to overpower these things. But I think this thing is pretty awesome right out of the box. I'm giving you guys all the information I could possibly spew out at you. It's a really fun truck to drive. I had a blast with it. My buddy Joe over at XOCage RC got one too, so if you want to see more information and more action on the truck, definitely check out his channel. Let us know what you think about it in the comment section below. I'll have links in the video description, and we'll see you back soon for some more RC driver videos.